into this show. We made it through the NFL draft. All the build-up and anticipation for it. The Cowboys had so many holes and so many needs that they had to address in this draft. And they had, at times, Amariana Hampton. They had Teteroa McMillan. They had Matthew Golden. Some had other players that was going to the Cowboys. But we got to the point in the commissioner came out and he said, with the number 12 pick in the first round of the NFL draft, the Dallas Cowboys select receiver? No. Didn't go receiver. Running back? No. Decided not to go with a running back. Offensive lineman. Ding, 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 ding. The Cowboys select offensive guard from Alabama, Tyler Booker. Side note, if you're a young lady and you're watching this, and your hope one day is to get pregnant and produce an NFL player, and you just so happen to be a Cowboy fan, if you name your son Tyler, I don't know if it's going to get him to the Cowboys or the NFL, but you got a better chance at it. Because it seems like the Cowboys, they got 3 Tylers now. They got Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, and Tyler Booker. They had a Tyler Biadasz at one point in time as well. I mean, if you're a Tyler, you got a good chance of being on the Cowboys. So, ladies, if you're thinking about getting pregnant, Tyler might be a name if you want your old baby boy to potentially grow up one day and be a Dallas Cowboys. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I'm saying it's a possibility. The Cowboys take Tyler Booker with the number 12 overall pick. Now, if you guys watch me on my draft show and coverage with DLL's Cowboys podcast, shout out to my guys over at there, Jeff Kavanaugh, Joe Hoyt, Clarence Pop Hill. Initially, because I was caught up in the glitz and glam of explosive player, we all know I was a huge fan of Emeka Egbuka. I wanted Egbuka. Initially, didn't like it. I didn't like it. I allowed my fandom of excitement and sexy and my prejudice for wide receivers to shun anyone else from that spot. And then I went home and I slept on it and I woke up the next morning and I said, okay. Not bad. Kind of dug a little bit more into Tyler Booker. And then I heard him talk. And boy, was I impressed. Now, he spent some time in Jersey. Just saying. Went to Bergen Catholic before he transferred to IMG. But I heard him talk. And there's a difference between blowing smoke. You know, having because you can only have these made up answers. You know, for those who don't know, when you go to these draft prospects, a lot of times if you're a potential high draft pick, when you go to training, I don't care what facility you go to. You go to Exos, you go to D1, you go to Fisher Sports. I don't care, Florida, California, Phoenix, wherever it is that you go and you train. Dallas. A part of the process is you're doing your physical training for the combine. But what they do is they bring in former scouts and former GMs, and then they test you on some of the questions that teams may ask you in the interview process. To kind of just, they pepper you with questions, but they also prepare you help you prepare answers for these ready-made questions. Because a lot of them are going to be the same. But they try to get you in the right mind frame. But what happens is once you get drafted and now you're being asked questions by reporters of all kinds, you can't prepare for an answer. So what ends up coming out is kind of technically like who you really are. And not to beat a dead horse. But I remember a couple years ago with Mozzie Smith, the Cowboys defensive lineman who they took in the first round, and he was being asked some questions after he was drafted, and they was asking him about football stuff, and he uttered the words, and I think if he could go back, he would take them back. It was in that moment. It was in that moment I said, this dude won't be good. And they asked him a question about football, and his response was, this was Mozzie Smith. His response was, I don't even really like playing football. I just like beating people up. What? Standing on the football field and you don't like playing football? You just like beating people up? I knew in that moment right there, the answer to that question was all I needed to know. I said, he's not our guy. This will not be a good football player. But then I heard Tyler Booker speak. And I was so impressed. I was so impressed at the details of what he spoke about. And they asked him about leadership. And he said something that was so profound and so mature for a guy his age. And he just talked about leadership, and he said, leadership is something that it's not given, it's earned. I have to come in here and earn the respect of these guys in this locker room. I'll do all I can to do. He was talking with so much maturity. And they asked him football questions. You heard him saying key things like, about dual blocks, about reach blocks, about down blocks, about all these different football terminologies. When you hear dual block, that's me getting with the center. We're smashing down on that nose guard, and then I'm getting to the next level. I'm helping, and then I'm getting to the next level to block a linebacker. And he just talked about the process of the sacrifice his parents did. His dad driving, his mom driving him to school from Connecticut to middle school in Connecticut, then transferred. Then his dad taking a job in New Jersey so he can go to one of the powerhouse football schools in New Jersey, Bergen Catholic, and then them having to invest in again and going all the way to Florida to IMG. It was just, even his music selection, he even had that down to it. He was just like, if I get too hype, I get up in the morning, I listen to gospel. But if I need to get hype, I put a little Jay-Z, a little Nas, said Jadakiss, which is my favorite rapper, got points with me. But he just was so in control of his thoughts. Everything was spoken so eloquently. I was so impressed. Now, does that mean he's going to go out there and be a football player? I don't know. But the first test that he had as a national football player, to me, he aced it. I left listening to his presser so impressed. And it's tough for a guy like Tyler Booker because in the old saying, I don't know who said it, but I'm going to say Ric Flair said it. Well, maybe he didn't say it. Ric Flair said, in order to beat a man, you got to beat the man. That's true. That's Ric Flair. Ooh. He also said Space Mountain, but we're not going to go with what he said about Space Mountain. But the term you've heard before is you never want to be the man after the man. And for 10 years, 11 years, whatever it was, Zach Martin was the man at right guard. And now here comes Tyler Booker. And even the response and answer to that, when they compared him to Zach Martin, he said, watch Zach Martin, ton of respect for Zach Martin. Not trying to be Zach Martin. I'm trying to be the very best Tyler Booker that I can be for this football team. Said that. Zach Martin. I'm Tyler Booker. I'm going to try to be my best. That's it. And I was impressed. I look forward to seeing what he can do with the Cowboys. I know I wanted something more sexy, but the Cowboys in this draft, they were very, very, and him as a player, he's a good player. SEC, plays some top competition, and he's a really, really, really solid, good player. Will he be Zach Martin? I don't know. We will all compare him to Zach Martin. Every time he does, he gets a holding penalty, we're going to say, man, Zach Martin in 11 seasons, he only had 9 holding penalties. He had 9 first All-Pros. Like everything that he does. Gives up a sack, Zach Martin going to give up that sack. We're going to compare him to Zach Martin, whether he likes it or not. I'll get a chance to speak to him and all the other rookies I'll talk about. I'm privileged and honored that I get a chance to speak to them, not as a media member, but as a family member, as an alum of the Cowboys. I've spoken to the rookies 6-7 years running now. That date for me is coming up, and I'll get a chance, and I get a chance to be raw and uncut with them. So I'll get a chance to see and speak to Tyler. But I look forward to seeing him play. I think he will be. He needs to be. He has no choice. He has a choice, but from a fan's perspective, he has to be. He has to be. He has to be leaps and bounds better than Brock Hoffman and T.J. Bass. He can't be par. Can't be. Sorry, young fella. Sorry. You have to find here is the standard, okay? The standard for you is Zach Martin. That's the standard. The floor, ceiling is the roof. The floor can't be Tyler Guyton in your first year. So now, here's the gap. Zach Martin, Tyler Guyton. You're going to be Tyler Guyton because you're a first-round offensive lineman. Zach Martin because he was the gold standard at that position. You got to fall somewhere in this closer to the top. Closer to the top. Because Brock Hoffman is somewhere down here. He's not at the top, but he's right around, hovering around average. Average NFL player. Who's that? Yeah. Don't confuse being a nasty player with being a very good player. I'm just saying. But he's down here. Not the worst, not the best. You have to come in and be closer to the best. Do I think you can do it? Sure. Sound like you can. They're going to need it in more ways than one. New coaching staff. Dak is coming off a season-ending a hamstring injury. He's going to need the protection. And it's even more important because the protection from the interior offensive line is what Dak needs the most. Yes, he needs his tackles to be somewhat serviceable, but if you give him a clean pocket, Dak can be a really good quarterback. The second round pick, number 44, I think, well, I'll hold off for that. Second round pick, I cannot pronounce his last name. Donovan Ezeiruaku, edge from Boston College. A lot of people had a first round grade on him. A lot of teams had a first round grade on him. He is a hired gun. Make no mistake about it. He is a very high. Now, my only concern, and maybe this is the reason why he fell into the second round to 44, is he is a hired gun. He is a pass rushing specialist. He is not a combo. He is not an every down defensive end. He is very position specific. If you're looking for someone to be in there to help stop the run, Donovan's not your guy. He's too light in the tail. He's too light in the tail. He ain't a baby 280. He more like a little lady when it comes to being the size for a defensive end. Yeah, that's. I would say I've been with some women that big, but I ain't never been with no women that's over 240. That's not my style. I like mine a little petite. You know what I'm saying? A little petite. 240? A little much for OJ Holley. Listen, to each their own. But for Donovan, 240, think about this for a second. Micah plays around 250, 255, and he wears down. So imagine a dude at 240. Now, I know some will say, well, he got down to 240 because, you go to the combine, you want to run fast, want to move, so you drop a lot of weight. That boy about 240, 245. That's tough. And it's different. It's different than playing in the ACC. It's different when Lane Johnson, who's 330, grabs you. It's different. It's different. You 240 and Lane Johnson grab you. Steph Curry. Night. I'm telling you, ask Micah Parsons. Ask Micah Parsons, who's 255 and is one of the best defensive ends in the entire NFL. Know who he struggles against? A guy like Lane Johnson. Hired gun. Not really good hired gun. When you're talking about being an edge, you're talking about a guy who can, you hear the terms bendy. You want a guy who'll be able to bend, Gumby in the hips type. Is that when he's able to get to that corner, he's able to get to a track stance and get around. When the attack goes to shoot that hand, he can. Von Miller is probably one of the best when he was in his prime of just the ghost move. I come at you, you see me, and then I take that shoulder away. Now you don't. And I'm around that hump to the quarterback. Hired gun. I like it. Cowboys still can't stop the run. But boy, you're going to be pissing down your leg when it comes to passing downs. When you look up, and I pray. We're no longer the hot boys. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. That's done. Thank you, Lord. When I was playing, the New York Giants had a package. Well, that's a pause. That's a major pause. God, that's a major pause. The New York Giants had a defensive package. I mean, that still might be a pause too. The New York Giants had a defensive grouping. That's two pauses in a row. The New York Giants had a defensive grouping of human men. And they called them the NASCAR package. And it was terror. It really was terror. And oddly enough, at that particular time, they had a guy on their team, Matthias Kiwanuka, who was a defensive end, rush end from Boston College. Just like Donovan Ezeiruaku. Donovan. D-Easy. So don't call him D-Easy. I pray the Cowboys don't call their defensive grouping NASCAR. Pick another name. Don't call it NASCAR. But when you're a quarterback, if you're Jalen Hurts, if you are Jackson Dart, if you are Jaden Daniels, when you look up and you see standing across the line Micah Parsons, and let's just say you're Jaden Daniels and it's 3rd and 9, and it's Micah Parsons to your left. It's Osa Digizua standing in front of you. It's Dante Fowler standing in that gap. It's D-Easy standing in that gap, and pick someone else. The ball got to come out very fast. The ball got to come out. Now, you already know the line is sliding left to Micah. Or if you line up D-Easy and Micah in that double A gap situation, and you put Fowler and Sam Williams out there, and then you add Osa into the mix, I was a part of that, and I watched it. Scary business. And I saw it from a special teams perspective. They would leave the NASCAR on the field, and you look down there, and it's Chris Canty, it's Justin Tuck, it's JPP when he had all 5 fingers, Osa Umenyiora, Matthias Kiwanuka, and Antonio Pierce. I was the up back on punt, like down, set. You don't want to deal with that. Quarterbacks don't want to deal with that. The Cowboys are building, and it fits because here's why. New defensive coordinator Eberflus, he's not a guy that creates these exotic blitzes. What do I mean? Like, you look at guys like Vic Fangio and other places, and you look at other teams that create these. Steve Spagnuolo in Kansas City, where they're sending all these people from different angles. They're blitzing corners, they're blitzing safety. Nah, my boy gets down to business, And he needs guys to create and win one-on-one matchups because he's not bringing exotic blitzes. He's not doing all other stuff. So Donovan, D-Easy, great pickup. Third round, Shavon or Savon. I think the H is silent. Shavon Revel. Shavon, that's what it is. The H is silent. Shavon Revel, cornerback out of East Carolina. Had he not tore his ACL, and here's the one thing I'll say about Shavon. We live in a day of time of transfer portal jumping, NIL chasing mofos. He had a chance to go to your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Ohio States, your Oregons, your Texases, your A&Ms. You name the program. He had a chance to do that. And he decided, I'm going to stay at East Carolina. They're not even the best school in the state of Carolina. They're not even the best. Could have went to Clemson. Hell, he could have came on down to Chapel Hill. He could have went to NC State. But he stayed at East Carolina. I commend him for that. Had he not gotten hurt, he would have been a first-round cornerback. Probably a top 10 pick, honestly. And the Cowboys were able to get him in the third round. They got a first-round talent pre-knee injury in the third round. Now, the big question is, how will he return from the ACL? He's rehabbing. He's running now. I saw a video the other day. He was on the speed runner thing. Still had a little gimp, but they said he'll be ready for training camp. The expectation is high because everyone knows that he would have been a very, very, very high first-round pick. Probably the first cornerback to come off the board. The Cowboys have a very, very, very high need for cornerback. He'll be ready to go before Trayvon Diggs is ready to go from his ACL injury and then microfracture knee situation when that happened. But the thing that you always hear about when it comes to ACL injuries is guys aren't the same until the second year post-injury. So what to expect from Revel this year? It's 50-50 because you want that first-round talent that everyone saw to come out early right away. But I guess you have to temper your expectations because this is a guy who's coming off a major knee injury. Where's the confidence at? Where's the mentals at? Where are the body bouncing back and him being at full strength to start the year while still learning in the NFL level? The upside is there. If there's one player in this entire draft class for the Cowboys whose upside is Mount Everest high, it's Revel. It's Revel. He has the ability, out of all of them, to be a 10-year pro, 6-7-time All-Pro. From a skill set perspective, how the knee responds, that will be the reason why he's either that he'll go down as one of the greatest third-round picks in Cowboy history, or he'll go down as Cowboys did it again. They used another high draft pick for a hurt dude. Usually they go hurt guy second round. That was their MO. They go high draft pick in the second round on a hurt guy. This year they went third round is relative. Third round is a starting round. Like you get drafted in the third round, you're probably going to start for that team next year. Another high draft pick on a hurt guy. That's where it's at. Like I don't even know if it's anywhere in between. I think it's boom or bust. I think he's going to be everything that we needed. He's going to be the next one in line to be a 10-year starter at the cornerback position, or we'll look back and go, they did it again. High pick, hurt guy. That's it. I don't think there's any in between. I just don't. I don't. I don't think there's any in between with him. It's going to be all or nothing. But that value-wise, that is this steal of this draft class. You got a first-round top 10 talent in the third round. And then the fifth-round pick, running back out of Texas, Jaden Blue. The one thing that you'd hear when you speak the name Jaden Blue, fast. This is the spark, I believe, the Cowboys need, and I think he'll help this football team. I think Jaden Blue, his passing ability, his pass catching ability would be the speed is always, that's evident, and that's what you want. But I think for him, helping out in the passing game initially is going to be his particular skill set that when we look back after the 2025-2026 season, we're going to go, man, he really helped his passing game out. He really, especially with the Cowboys not being able to find their second number 2 receiver in the draft, I think he'll be able to help. I also think if they don't go and sign I think they should take a flyer on a guy like Nick Chubb. I wouldn't be mad at that. I think Javonte Williams, go Heels, is a good back. I don't think Miles Sanders has much left in the tank. They got another running back later in the 7th round, Phil Maffa. I think he's a bruising, battering back. I think Jaden Blue fits in the slot mode, not at every down back. He gets 4 to 7 snaps a game, whether that be handoffs, whether that be passing plays, but he is a mismatch for anybody. Don't care who. Cornerback, safety, linebacker. He catches the ball in space. He's fast enough where he outruns angles. When you think, I took the right angle, I got him, and you go beep beep, I'm out. He's that fast. Problem was, even at Texas, he was in the big house. Then he got sent to the outhouse because he could not stop breaking the cardinal sin of a football player, but an absolute cardinal sin of a running back: fumbling the football. You are a running back and you have a fumbling problem, you will be in coach's doghouse in the quickest way. If you can't protect the ball as a running back, you're dead. You're dead. You won't play. And that's what happened to him at Texas. He was in there and he could not stop putting the ball on the ground. In the words of Mike Singletary, can't play with him. Can't win with him. Can't coach him. A running back that can't hold on to the football won't see the light of day in most football organizations. We'll see if he focuses and fixes that, because he can be and people, I said it on my show earlier today, and I don't know if all my co-hosts believed me, but the one thing that I'll say, and I love Jeff, I love Pop, I love Joe. The one thing that I can say, that I can stand on, that they can't, I did it. I put them pads on. And if Jaden Blue is going to be your 2B to 3rd running back, he has to play special teams. And I think that's also going to be a factor where he can be really good at. I think Cavante will be your punt returner. I would not be mad if you put Jaden Blue back there for a little kickoff. Would not be mad at that. You talk about having two lightsaber speed dudes back there. Would not be mad at it. But where he's also going to play a part of that is, being the up back on punt team. And I know people are like, oh, Jesse, special teams. I'm like, think about this for a second. When they're punting the ball, if he's the personal protector, that's the guy that's standing behind the center, and he punts it, normally there's a guy off the line of scrimmage on the defensive side waiting to receive, to block the personal protector. I know because I played it for 5 years in the National Football League. If I can beat him with speed, there's nobody else left to block me. So what does that mean? When a returner looks up, but he feels me coming, fair catch. No chance of a return. No chance of a return. And a good return in the National Football League is 8 to 10 yards. If I punt returner, and it usually happens if I make the first guy miss. If I make the first guy miss, I'm going to pick up 10 yards. But the first guy down there is Jaden Blue because of his speed. Fair catch. Now they have to go 80, 90. They don't get that opportunity to separate and break one. I'm just saying. He can make an impact on special teams as well when he's not running the football. And most third-string running backs have to do that. It's another reason why I think you could say bye-bye to little Tink, because he didn't play special teams, and he was like the third or fourth-string running back. So I don't think Deuce is going to be here too much longer. Special teams keep you around, man. Keep you around. Find a niche. Stay. Fifth round, Shamar Stewart, linebacker from Florida. It's a good player, decent player. I'm sorry, Shamar James. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sixth round, I took an offensive lineman, Cornelius, from Oregon. Seventh round. This one right here, the Jay Toya, defensive tackle from UCLA. Might have a little something there. You need some big bodies in there. Seventh round, Phil Maffa, and seventh round, the last pick, Tommy King. I can't pronounce that last name. King Besote. Defensive tackle from Maryland. He's okay. He'll be on the practice squad probably this year. But that's their draft. If I had to give a grade, and this is always the hard part because you give a grade in April and then you get to training camp and you're like, oh, he actually can't play. And now that grade sucks. So I would say a B+. I'd say a B+, simply because of the value. They got players after Tyler Booker, who I think was their best player available after Tetairoa McMillan got picked by the Carolina Panthers, They got a second-round pick who most people had as a high first-round pick in Donovan Ezeiruaku, and then they got a third-round pick in Shavon Revel, who was a first-round high pick in the third round. Like, those are all value picks. Some may have had Blue higher than the fifth round. If they did, great. Then you got a running back in the fifth round that most people may have had in the third or fourth round. The value alone, I think, gives this team a B. But now here comes the question that you should be asking yourselves. Did this football team get better than the team that they produced last year?